the Humvee sold for $850,000.
Wow. His portion of it was $750,
which is insane.
It's worth what somebody will pay for it. That applies to everything in the auction. Like, you might think these numbers are crazy, but somebody's paying it. We're looking at it from our economic ability, and it seems crazy, but I know what this stuff costs, and some of it you're like, damn, that's a lot of money, but it's a deal. Some stuff 100% overpriced, like 100%.
I love the design of, what's this car again? The Pagani what?
Huayra.
No,
that's Zonda.
That's a Zonda. Yes. Oh,
Zonda Aria.
so sick.
I've seen a Huayra, but not a Zonda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a Zonda. I've seen a few Huayras. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple times now. Yeah. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're like timepieces. They're
like art on wheels.
Yeah. That's how I kind of like, when I see the interior, it just automatically makes me think of like the internals of a like a really nice watch.
Yeah.
Something to aspire to try and emulate is like even a fraction of what, Horatio has created there.
Well, you can put it in your car. Those two flaps that do the little aero flap things. Yeah. Your Datsun is a perfect test bed.
No, my Datsun is like a caveman car in comparison to that. And I'm not interested in going that deep. No.
Or your car has aero, Tim, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't have the computer system to control. It's pretty rudimentary.
Oh, that one is it just manual? No, that one you just speed, right?
It's on your brakes and speed.
Yeah, okay. That's still sick. Come on. Because the Pagani does the same thing. It does it. Oh no, I feel like in the corners too.
There's all kinds. It's got accelerometers and all kinds of things in there.
Yaw controllers.
Yeah.
This and that and everything else that we're just not invested in.
And then, I'm curious to know if those wings, like, have you seen those wings on, what are those cars? The Zenvos, TSRS or whatever those things are called, that the wing moves to the side like this and like this. Yeah, like when you turn, it goes the other way.
Yeah,
and like
but it's really dramatic looking.
It's pretty insane. Yeah.
That's dumb.
No, it's cool. They say it's functional. I don't know how functional it is.
But still, it's freaking dumb.
No, it's not dumb, Ralph. Come on.
Goofy.
Dude, there has to be a balance in effectiveness and just aesthetic pleasing things.
It looks sick.
It's not sick,
when it's not moving. As soon as it goes around the corner, it looks ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not sick, dude.
Because the thing pitches like 30 degrees.
Literally, yeah. Like you can see it like...
It's admirable if it functions. That's pretty cool, but...
And if it actually was a thing, we would see it in motorsports.
What if they were the pioneers?
Like,
they would ban it for sure, but
thing.
you would at least have seen it attempted before now.
I feel like we've gone off a tangent. It didn't even start, so... Anyway.
Shop Talk, TFC.
Yes. Welcome back to another episode of Modify with TrickFactory Customs. If this is your first time watching, my name is Elvis.
Tim.
Rob.
And on this podcast, we talk about cars. We're a custom shop located here in British Columbia, Canada. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about auctions.
What?
Auctions are getting out of hand.
Are they?
Auction prices, yes, they are. I've noticed it in the past, in 2021, 2022, when COVID was happening, things really got crazy. I feel like things have kind of settled now, but it's still, some of the things, as we're going to discuss, are still mind-blowingly out of hand. And because... if you didn't know, we skipped last week. We didn't have a podcast last week.
That's and why is that?
Yes, why is that, Tim?
Why is that?
Don't blame it on me. You guys could have had one while I was gone.
I know. I didn't mention it to Rob, but...
Because Elvis and I were here in the cold, frigid north of Canada.
Yep.
And Tim was down in Phoenix at the Barrett-Jackson auction.
Yeah.
So just a little waypoint stop off in Las Vegas. To the G-Wagon, off-road adventure, tour.
Yes. So give us recount your whole experience from driving from here, because first of all, you took some G-Wagons from here
to the G-Wagon rally in Vegas.
Yes, so recount the whole thing because it is pretty wild.
Okay, so let's just start right now. It's like February 2nd as right now. You just got back, so it's still winter time.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was an adventure.
Okay.
We encountered...
No. Start from the start. Start from the start. Yeah, let's have this like a story here. We're building like your
mom and dad got together.
Middle, I don't know how much of a story you want.
So you first of all, you left with the G-Wagon, the Portal G-Wagon from here.
So we finished the Portal G here basically last minute because the previous week we had all kinds of challenges with bad weather here and heaters not working. So basically everything came down to the last possible minute because we had body work and paint and a bunch of things to do that got delayed because of heating issues in our buildings and all this type of stuff and not being able to get parts. So literally finished them last minute, which seems like no matter what the hell we do, it always ends up that way. Like,
it's like no matter how hard we try not to do that.
So like we had like a 3 or 4 day buffer, we thought, but then because the paint shop heaters went out, we weren't able to, get our stuff done in time because we had to wait. So it ended up being last minute. Then I got the Portal G on the trailer. Plus, that was a whole nother thing. We had to organize all this giant trailer and all this other stuff.
That trailer was massive.
Yeah, it's 36 feet.
Gosh.
So we had to get the tow truck, the truck we were using to tow it, outfitted, and that was a bunch of stuff. And then I got the trailer. We loaded up the Portal G. I headed out to Kelowna, which you have to go Coquihalla, which locally is,
terrifying in the winter.
Well, it depends. Like you could go at 2 PM and it's fine, and then by 5 PM it's like treacherous.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of that because it started snowing really bad.
Oh, no.
And of course we got this crazy expensive vehicle on the back, so that adds another level of stress. So then we got to Kelowna, we loaded up another G-Wagon, and then crossed the border there, which is always, anytime you're crossing a border, it can be 5 minutes or 5 hours. You never know. It all just depends on the mood of the guy that you got. But we had all of our ducks in a row. Everything was fine. Crossed the border without issue. And then immediately, almost like a wall, we hit fog. So the roads were fine as far as, but the fog was so thick, you could only see like 50 feet out. So we had left time to sleep overnight and then finish the rest of the trip the next day. So we were supposed to have 2 12-hour days. But because of the fog and because of the road conditions getting to Kelowna, we were already behind. We didn't get to Kelowna until like 8 o'clock at night. And then the fog, we drove 45 to 50 kilometers an hour for like 6.5 hours.
Ooh.
So it was
that long?
Yeah, it was that long because you're traveling down, through these passes. Then we assumed that once the sun came up, it would burn it off. It didn't till like noon, 1 o'clock. And then we kept going, and then it was, we got every kind of, we had snow, we had ice, and it was worse because it would like rained and then froze because it's like the desert.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no snow. It's just ice. And then we got through that, and then finally we came down out of the mountains and got into Nevada, and I was like, okay, it's mint.
Yeah.
It's like 6 degrees. Roads are perfect. Desert, we're ace. We're gonna make some time now, but we're already late. Like we had to drive through the night, so there's no sleeping. We're in like hour 24. We're still 5 hours from Vegas, and then like a wall, there's a snowstorm. Cars, chaos, upside down in the ditch.
Everyone all season summer tires.
Then we got through that, and again, just like a wall, boom, summer again, and away we went. And we ended up getting there at 11 o'clock at night. So he missed like the G-Wagon parade and a couple other things because he was going to a big event, one of our customers. And then up at 6 a.m., unloaded the trucks. They headed off to the desert, and then I headed to Phoenix to go to Barrett.
Oh my gosh.
So it was an adventure. So no matter what, it always seems to come down to last minute.
Yeah, but it kind of also worked out too that it was like the time that you guys delivered it kind of worked out too perfectly, even with his plans and everything.
We were getting there no matter what.
Yeah,
so it was a lack of sleep.
Yeah.
So I got beat up pretty bad.
And then you made it to Barrett Jackson. So have you been or attended any other like auctions like that, like Mecum?
I've been to lots and lots of auctions, and I've been to Barrett before.
Okay.
So I knew what to expect.
And Barrett was in Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was more or less what was to be expected with a few standouts, but yeah, it was pretty much on par with any other time I've been.
So before we dive into the prices of some of the things there and some of the things at auction houses, something that I feel like I've noticed, I don't know if you noticed the same thing, but you pointed it out, was like every car or every custom car there that had an LS was sold more than the actual classic what it came with
counterpart.
Yeah.
And only we can just go strictly on the LS.
Yeah.
So let's say you have two identical Corvettes, part for part the same, other than that just the engine, it was $50,000 more. And then once you start adding chassis and brakes, and it just sky's the limit from there. But if you just took like, there's 100 examples, you can go on the docket and see what stuff sold for. You could have like a mint C10 that's perfectly restored, canned, laid out, wheels, brakes, and it would be $65,000. You put an LS in it with no other changes, and it was like $140,000.
That's pretty crazy to me, because I feel like,
and these aren't even built LSs. These are just like
stock LS3
crate engines put in the hole.
No, but that is crazy to me, because I feel like typically, like you guys have more experience than me, but typically wouldn't it be the opposite? Like anything back in the day that was modified in any way, it's like,
I think that's all gone now. Well, I know it's gone. 100% it's gone. Because I saw like a 67 Corvette. I'm just picking on Corvettes because there's so many of them. Like a 67 Corvette, like a fuelie car that would have been like one of those Grail cars other than like a big block car. And it was like $140,000. And then you start looking at the LS3 converted Corvettes, and then roaster shop chassis Corvettes, and then full builds, and they're like 200, 290. I think the most expensive one I saw was like 430.
Oh my
US.
gosh.
Yeah.
So like that collector car stuff, nobody wants to mess with it anymore. Like they want to drive their cars, which, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. So there's always going to be that faction that covets those perfect cars, but there was a lot of big collections being sold of that restored stuff, and it wasn't pulling the money that the Restomods were pulling.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, it's wild.
That's pretty crazy. Is this almost inspiring you guys to just put LSs, or advise a customer to put like an LS or something else in any of the cars that they would hope to sell in the future? Or
I think the reputation of the LS is just so good now. And it's undeniable. Like, it works.
Yeah.
You don't have any headaches anymore. So you don't have to necessarily be like the hands-on grease monkey guy to own a 67 Chevelle anymore. Like, you can have a nice car that you can hit the key and drive. So I think that's the transition. Because that other stuff, you let it sit, and every time you drive it, you're fixing something. And then the idea of driving it is like, oh man, I don't know if I want to take this thing out because I might have to get it towed home. Whereas the LS car, you drive it enough that you can actually legitimately get a feel for what it is and not be afraid to drive it. Yeah. And I saw some crazy cars that, like, all that stuff nobody cares about. It's like all aluminum 427s, 850 horsepower, blah, blah, blah. Like, and they're like cheap.
Oh,
yeah,
that's crazy.
I feel like, to answer your question, yes, of course. I'm going to advise everybody to do that. Put an LS in your car and drive it. That's what it's for.
Yeah, the ones we do, how often have you seen those guys again? We never see them.
Yeah.
They bring it for an oil change in springtime, and that's it.
Yeah.
And especially if you're driving it as like an enthusiast car, like how many miles are you actually putting on it a year? 12,000? So you get an oil change a year, there's really no other maintenance.
Yeah.
And if it's been built well, it's like you'll never see them again.
Yeah, there's people out there, car enthusiasts that are like all about that classic stuff. They live and breathe it. But I feel like those people are fewer and far between now. And I think that it's kind of contributing to the fact that, those cars are not pulling the numbers that they used to. It's just nobody has the experience or the know-how or even the desire, like Tim said, to play around with that stuff anymore. It's such a super romantic, idealistic idea to have, these super radical motors that are like, really exotic and that's super cool, if you think about it. But like, these cars need to be driven. You need to experience these cars, and an LS converted version of that car gives you that opportunity. So I would say all day long, just do it. Unless, of course, it's something that deserves to be in a museum piece because it's like historical or something. Yeah.
That's a good point to mention, because I feel like there's still something like romantic, like you said, about like driving a car stock as it was and as it should have been from the factory. Like there's still that, but because I don't know, you still get the feeling, because I feel like when it's an LS, it's more modern. It's like it doesn't give you as much, and there's people that crave that.
Yeah, I think like it just gives you something different.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe that every engine, every chassis, every car has its own unique characteristics that in an ideal situation, a customer or you would have this perfect shining example that runs and drive it as it was, then do a swap and then drive it again. If you could do that back to back, like right away, you would find that you probably appreciate the new version so much more. It depends. I mean,
don't think it applies to everything.
It doesn't.
Like if you have, say, like the Aston Martin with that motor is a very specific thing. It has a specific sound and it performs in a specific way.
Yeah.
You take that away from that car, it's not the same car.
Oh,
that's so very true.
Whereas like you have a 67 Camaro and you take out a carbureted small block and put an LS in it, it's not so far detached from what it was.
Yes,
like
exactly.
it's still going to handle and perform and have 90% of its essence other than the, smelling like gas when you get home.
Yeah.
So there's some cars obviously you shouldn't swap, but I'd say most of them
send it.
Yeah,
Send
most of them.
Anything that's like classic V8, like you got Coyotes and Voodoos and LS 1 through 9 and now LTs, like you have plenty of options to make them awesome. And then you get to drive them.
Yeah.
But should you put an M113K in a 911? No. You should not.
I kind of disagree.
You should not do that.
I think that'd be great.
No, sorry. I think my laughter covered up the first part. But in case you guys are not following our Instagram, we have an M113, a few M113Ks, which is the Mercedes AMG supercharged V8 that came in some cars from the early 2000s. And we're putting that in a 190E. One of the cars from Ireland, and I was like, "Ooh, it'll be nice to." We also happen to have a Porsche that we're making it an RSR. It's like an RSR tribute car.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Ooh, maybe we should put this motor, line it up to the Porsche, and see if it's it's probably close enough to the size of the original motor." And we filmed the video just for gigs and all of that, and it went very crazy on Instagram.
I think it's super cool. I mean, doing an LS conversion into a 911 or a Cayman or something like that is highly desirable for many reasons. But an M113K is such a cool engine.
Exactly.
And the packaging on it is just so nice. I'm like into it. Like if the motor on my 911 ever blows up, which I'm sure it will.
Yes,
I might consider something like that because it's obtainable.
I feel like it would also do very well on social media, so that's also
okay.
Another
I think
two.
like you get all these people like good luck making it handle and blah blah blah. It's not that heavy of an engine. Like that's
it's all aluminum,
thing.
right?
No, it has an
or
iron
aluminum.
bottom.
Okay, aluminum heads.
But it's not as heavy as people think. Like people think you're putting this thing in and it's going to start doing wheelies or something.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Like even an LS, if you put a true LS aluminum bottom end one in, it's not that much heavier than what was in there stock.
Yeah, I think it might actually even be a little tiny bit lighter.
Yeah, I think it's lighter.
That would be
by not a lot, but it's enough.
Yeah, I think I don't
Just slightly
me specifically, but depending on what configuration you put in, like headers and intakes and stuff, it's like maybe 50 or 75 pounds lighter on the one that I'm familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
it's
pretty
like
crazy.
These people kind of
it's just the visual of it is just so significantly different that I don't think a lot of people really realize. Like, we're getting kind of a little off tangent here, but like I don't think really a lot of people realize just how wide and significant the flat six engine actually is. You take something that's I don't know the dimensions, but imagine it's like 3 feet wide, and it weighs whatever. You put it next to an LS and it's like 2 feet wide and weighs whatever. It's just taller, but narrower, like the LS is,
Yep.
and it just looks so different that it looks like it would be super super heavy, but it's deceivingly not.
Yeah,
So-
it looks like there's a lot of bits and pieces that make it kind of muscly.
There's a couple of companies out there that make conversions and stuff like that for that.
I don't
and
think
it's
I've ever seen one in a 911 before. So
and I've seen it. I've seen lots of videos of it.
An M113?
And it is no, not an
okay.
M113. No. So that's kind of why I'm like, oh, interesting.
Okay.
exactly.
I
Interesting.
used the internet
Okay.
to confirm, and a stock 911 engine weighs 450 pounds.
That's not that bad though.
So an LS3, like a true LS, all aluminum, 466 pounds.
That's
there
insane.
we
That's
go.
uncanny. That's
Yeah.
so it's a lot closer than you would think.
Yeah.
418 pounds with the, depending on the packaging, the lightest version of it.
That's not bad. That's pretty
I mean,
good.
so it makes sense.
So
it makes
before all
sense.
you guys start talking shit about handling and all this other stuff, there you go.
It
you
worked.
go.
So yes, so that is a potential for when your engine. No, hopefully it doesn't go kaboom. But
Yeah.
if the engine in your 911 goes kaboom, that might be an option.
That will definitely be an option.
Yeah, come on.
I mean,
It already has a supercharger.
That's just what we do here.
Smaller pulley.
We solve problems. You want an M113K in your 911? No problem. We
Yeah.
can solve that problem.
Yeah, maybe you can talk to some of the other Porsche owners that are here that we're supposed to do work to be like, hey, M113
No.
Porsche.
I got enough projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to be encouraging that. type
Oh
of
my
behavior.
gosh. Anyway, back to the original topic.
Yes.
Cars are getting out of hand, or at auctions are getting out of hand. Let's talk about
think they are,
the elephant in the room, literally, the H1 Hummer.
Oh yes. yes
So,
yes.
in case you guys do not know, this is a 6x6, 6 wheels, 6x6 Hummer, or 4x6, I should say. 6x6 Hummer H1, or Humvee, pretty much as
Humvee.
they would say, that has a mid-engined Hellcat motor. And what else?
That's it.
Mid-engine Hellcat motor. It's lowered
6x6,
on
lowered.
like what's it called?
Kinda have
Coilovers.
like cantilever suspension.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of wild arrow on it to make
Yeah.
it appear like race car-ish, I guess.
It looks pretty amazing.
It's crazy looking.
I hate it.
We've talked about this car before on one of our previous podcasts, and the guy that actually built it follows us too, and he was probably very excited to hear that the Humvee sold for $850,000.
Wow. His
American.
portion of it was
$750, which is insane.
Wow.
Like,
So I was there for
What?
it because, I've had conversations with this fella.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see it in person, and it was like one of the ones that I was attended for, like I need to be present for. And I thought, honestly, if somebody got wild, it was going to sell for like 250
300.
to 300.
Yeah.
But it sort of stopped, and then I'm like, okay, cool, that makes sense. And then it just took off.
What? Was it just two guys bidding, or like how? What?
Yeah, it was pretty strong. Like, it was fast.
my
Like, two people really
gosh.
wanted it. Like, there wasn't much of a grind.
That is
it went to
insane.
it went to that number and then just stopped. So it was like bam, 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 bam. It wasn't like, a lot of times they're trying to, generate more bids, and there's a bit of a grind, and it was like humming and hawing. That one just went hard right to 750. There's like the first two people left the room that got it to 3, and then from 3 to 750, it just went.
That is insane.
And then at 750, it was just like a hard stop, and then it was sold.
So like, why do you think that happened? Like, were these guys drunk or something?
I don't
Like-
know, man. No matter how drunk I got, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be dropping $750,000 on something. Like, there'd be an obscene amount of liquor. Plus, you have to be registered.
Yep.
And capable of,
Yes.
like, you've been.
You can't just be like, hey.
Yeah, you've been vetted. So, like, that money is spent. There's no backing out of it. Like, you have to be approved for a certain level of, bidding.
Oh, you have to be. Okay, I thought everyone was just approved for like, $1 million or 10 million.
You got to make sure all your finances is in order before you can even bid.
I guess that makes sense because they don't
want fake bidders and drunk idiots and all that kind of stuff, and people trying to run bids up, and so it's pretty wild.
That's an.
So I don't know what the purpose of this thing is.
The car?
Yeah, like I don't know how the new owner is going to extract any value out of it.
I mean, it drives though. It runs, it drives, it moves under its own power. Like we saw, I think the video because I think he had some relations with Gas Monkey Garage.
I think
or something.
they handled it.
Yeah, the marketing and all of that. So I feel like that might have also played in part of why it got that much. But the video is currently one of the most viewed or most liked and most viewed Instagram videos of all time. It's like in like the top 20. Wow. It got like 100 and something million views.
That's wild.
A few million likes.
That's insane.
Went insane when Gas Monkey Garage put up that video. So I feel like that might have had something to do with it, but I still don't know what happened at that point or if they were being remote controlled by some sort. I don't know.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's worth that much money.
No. Yeah, it's
like he apparently built it in 10 weeks.
That's insane.
Really? 2 guys.
10 weeks.
Which is insane. I followed the build, and then so yeah, this guy's hauling ass, and it's nice. Like it looks like it's well built. It was
done. Like I feel like a lot of engineering went into design engineering, all of that went into it.
Yeah, before the 10 weeks even started.
I don't know if there's functional engineering in it. Like I don't think it's vehicle specific.
Oh, I see.
I think engineering principles were applied to it, like cantilever suspension and stuff, but I don't know how far it was taken in its functionality.
Because it's a custom chassis.
Yeah, it's a chassis that they built.
Yeah, it would have
out of like rectangular tubing, and then these things were applied to it, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
To what level?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that don't make sense. You're not going to have cantilever suspension and then 24-inch wheels with rubber bands. There's things that don't line up there, but
it's I don't know.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it's like just normal coilovers, brakes, nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not a Hummer anymore.
It's built to an aesthetic, and it achieved that very well. I don't know how well it's actually going to perform, though.
Yeah.
My guess is that its sole performance purpose in life is views.
To look sick.
Yeah.
To get those 100+ million views.
It does it as like it's crazy.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to look at. Like I only briefly saw it in that Gas Monkey video. And I turned off the video like almost instantly because like
you don't like. I think it looks glorious.
It looks like a Hot Wheels toy.
Yeah, it does.
But it does. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So it's automatically assumed that it's a shit ton of work, and I do admire somebody's focus to take it to the finish line like that. That's pretty awesome. Props to those dudes. That's pretty
That's
crazy.
pretty much his whole mandate. Like apparently he had a TV show in France.
Oh, really?
Building a bunch of wild stuff.
Oh,
so he's done like a 6x6 Rolls Royce and a 6x6.
Oh, he was the same
Defender.
guy that did the Rolls Royce. Oh, yo, that's cool.
So I mean, it's not really built to do anything other than
it looks
wild.
Just wild. Super wild.
Well, he achieved it.
Yeah, he hit that on the mark right there.
And what was also interesting about the whole thing is, like, again, we've talked about it not being a Hummer, but I'm curious to know how that owner is going to use it, or if they're even going to use it. Like, is it just going to end up parked in like a shed, not a shed, but like a garage somewhere and just looking at it and stuff? So I'm very curious.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to extract value out of it.
Yeah.
Like some stuff you see and it's like it ends up in museums. And, there's the price of admission and different stuff like that. But this, like, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Like there are even other things like that have like the pedigree of having a race history and all that kind of stuff. Like you see how you can get your value back out of it. But what do you do with it? It doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like it's not a track car.
Nope.
It's not an off-road vehicle. You can't drive it fast. So what do you do with it?
Yeah. I don't know. That's the question.
Like it might have a year, maybe 2 years of like car show appearances.
Yeah.
But
after that, like, what do you do with it? You can like if you can drive it, it always blows people's mind. It will always blow people's minds, no matter how old it gets. It's one of those.
But it's
just so outrageous.
You gotta understand the amount of wealth that some people have.
Yeah,
like that seems like an obscene amount of money to us. But if you're a billionaire and you're like, I just want to whatever. Like that's it could be on its way to Saudi Arabia right now, or Dubai or whatever, and it's might just sit in a collection and smile when you look at it, and that's it.
Yeah, I also see it as like art too, because it's like people paying ridiculous amount of money for paintings or all of that stuff.
It applies to everything.
Pretty amazing.
Watches.
Yep.
Like. You can get $1 million watch, no problem. That
so when
seems obscene to us, but
I know
if I had to choose between a watch and that truck,
I would pick that truck any day.
I'd probably pick the watch because I know I could sell the watch down the road. Whereas that truck is just going to continue to depreciate to the point that it's almost worth nothing.
Yeah. I feel like I would pick the truck. Like you can drive the truck; it's massive. You see it, you're like, oh shoot, it's like watch is like I've never been a watch guy. You're a watch guy. I'm like, it's a small watch. It's fine.
Yeah, but you can get your money back out of your watch.
I guess so. It's more of an investment.
If you buy the worst bet, a decent thing. But that, it's like, we've seen it 100 times before, not to this level of wildness, but like, you'll see like a new hype car and it'll sell for 600 grand. 2 years later, it sells again at auction. Same auction is 400 grand. 2 years later, it's 200 grand.
Dropping, yeah.
So it's like, it just keeps dropping to a point where, this is, it's met its lowest amount, like its maximum amount of depreciation, and then it'll change hands 3-4 more times in that base sort of range. So this is going to be the same.
But I also feel like, or do you guys feel like it's like a start line for people building custom things? Because again, talking about auctions, and previously something like this, you take it to an auction, like you would expect like a lot less than it sold for. So does this set a line for people to be like, oh shoot, I can take my Lamborghini Ura Chevy Tahoe body swap to an auction like that, and it'll do.
Well, this isn't a new concept
because the sort of previously things that were built to this level of what is it? I can't even think of the word. It's very eccentric.
Okay.
So I can't even pronounce that word, but
eccentricity,
yes, were generally poorly done because they're being built to an aesthetic by somebody that maybe didn't have the ability to be doing what they're doing. But now this stuff is being created nice, so it has a lot more value. So I think there's going to be always a new niche for this wild stuff because it's crazy and it works. Whereas traditionally you see a lot of this wild shit and it's like made out of spray foam and so bad, and you're like, it's a cool idea, but you just assume that it's junk. Whereas now some of this stuff is like, it may not have a specific function that we can identify, but at least you can go out and use it and drive it and it'll stay together for a couple of years, and you'll like it's cool. So I don't know if it's gonna stay, but there's a lot of money out there. I was offered obscene amounts of money for my Evo.
Yeah.
Like crazy. So if you want it, it's worth what somebody will pay for it. That applies to everything in the auction. Like you might think these numbers are crazy, but somebody's paying it. So that is now what that is worth.
Yeah.
Like you can put a value to something, but if it doesn't sell, that's not what it's worth. And then that's why you see some stuff like that. But these people are paying it. And I know why they're paying it. And it's going to make people all upset and get all fucking wild because they seem like these numbers are just absolutely obscene and outrageous. Astronomical, but they're not. They're not really. Like if you're building a car to these levels with these parts and all this type of stuff, some of these cars are a deal. Like they're literally a deal. Like you see what it costs to build stuff.
It costs a lot of money.
And it doesn't make sense. And even to me, I'm like, holy shit, this is expensive. You're spending this. But by the time you're done, you put your hours and all this kind of stuff in the parts, and it's like, to these guys, because they have that lump sum ability to purchase these things, it's like, okay, I don't have to, like you go talk to Rocha Shop. We'll say a nice car, a built car is probably $500,000. So, and it's going to take 2 years, maybe 3 years. You can buy one for $290K and have it tomorrow.
That's not that bad when you think about it.
So it seems like a deal. Like that's a deal to that guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm driving it on Monday.
Yeah.
So that's But that's a different class of customer. Like we're looking at it from our economic ability, and it seems crazy, but I know what this stuff costs, and some of it you're like, damn, that's a lot of money, but it's a deal.
Yeah.
Like the level of some of these cars is insane. Like they're almost supercars, some of these.
Yeah.
And like they've applied it to a 50, 60-year-old car, and they're amazing.
Pretty cool.
Some stuff 100% overpriced, like 100%.
Yeah.
But I think that's people not recognizing the subtle differences between things.
That's good. Yeah.
So like one is like 250, and then they see one that's 90% looks like with that one, and it's like 140, but it's not 90%. It's like 30% of what that one was.
Yeah.
So it seems cheap, and then they get hammered, and there's people that get fucking ripped because there is stuff like K5 Blazers were super hot. You'll see one super nice LS3, LT4, whatever, pick whatever platform, and it's like 250 grand, 280 grand, and it's nice. But then you'll see one that's got a mint paint job, a nice interior, and underneath it's got some crusty old stock frame and a bunch of shit, and it goes across, it's $140,000. And then it's like that guy got jacked.
Yeah, so it's almost like they're riding a train. Like, so, yeah, so I feel like people, that's so interesting. I didn't even realize that people do that, or I guess I hadn't thought about that part.
But you can have the same wheels, similar paint job, similar interior, but everything inside is junk. And then the other guy, the insides are like, you know, chassis, wheels, brakes, brand new motor, transfer case, drive lines, like capable off-road vehicle. But the other one looks the same, like from the curb, and then that guy gets ripped. And you go look and you're like, oh shit, basically 140 grand for a stock K5 with a nice paint job.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
You're gonna have some buyer's remorse.
And so, if my PDF can work, come on, man. Oh, there it is. So I also have some extra things. Some extra cars that sold at auction that blew my mind, or that I'm like, what? So one of them, this is a 1954 Ferrari 500 Mondial Spider Series 1. Very long name. It was expected. First of all, this car is, when you hear it, you're like, yo, this is going to go for a lot of million, blah, blah, blah. But this is kind of what the car looks like.
Yeah.
Yo.
I'll put up a picture.
I mean,
it was
not much
burned.
of a car.
I know.
It was like 17 million or something, wasn't it?
No. It was burned. Like literally, that is a crispy, it's just a crust, a shell of a car. It was expected to fetch up to 1.6 million bucks at auction. It didn't go for a lot more. It got $1.875 million.
Wow.
For a pile of rust.
Yeah, but the finished car, I think, is like 17 to 20 million.
Probably,
So there's lots of room in there for...
Yeah. It was one
But
of
just the
13.
idea that somebody has sat on that burnt car for like 40 years waiting for this moment.
That's insane.
Is there? Did you read about it? Is there like a lot of history with this specific one?
So it is one of 13 ever built. It was designed by Pininfarina and later rebodied by Scaglietti. It was raced by the factory driver Franco Cortesi and finished 14th at the Mille Miglia. So it's been a Mille Miglia. So it has a lot of heritage. And then it was crashed a few times and changed hands, all of that. And so, but it's been sitting like this for like years, like decades. And so that sold for 1.8 million. And I'm like, how is someone going to extract the value out of this? This did not make sense to me. So
that's one of those very, very historical things, though, right?
There and all the other parts. So,
you know, the fact that it has racing history provides so much more value. I mean, it's such a romantic idea.
But it's still like, the question now is, are they just gonna also just only take the chassis, the number, the VIN number, and then rebuild something? Because I think Ferrari kind of talked, or someone was like, they might take it to Ferrari and have build it or something.
Ferrari's rebuilding.
So it's technically a brand new car, but just with the same VIN.
Yeah, and they're gonna build it to the exact spec that it was. Yeah, but they're gonna build it
in the way that it was originally built.
Yeah. They'll have to like dig into their documentation and build it exactly like it was. Otherwise, I mean, you will never extract the value out of it.
But then now you're creating all this provenance and the story
Yeah.
around this particular car that's increasing its value too.
Yeah, so the story of this purchase right here alone even adds to it.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's wild that it sells for
Plus, it seems like an
so
impossible
much.
challenge. It's
I know. Like, what is this? Is just a pile of garbage to me. I'm just.
I mean,
like,
you take that to a coach builder, like a very specific coach builder. They could remake that car, for pretty
But if one
reasonable.
of their originals is selling for $17 million and you
Yeah.
got it for $2 million, that leaves you a lot of room.
There's a lot of millions there to
There's
create
a
a
lot of
car.
millions to create a car.
Yeah. And there's no reason why you can't do it.
Like
so.
if you gave me $10 million, I would dedicate my life to recreating that car. Like seriously.
Yeah, that when you put it like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that, and you also have the story of like the crazy story of what it used to look like
Yeah.
and what it looks like. So
Even
I
if
guess
you put in 10 and you made $3 or $4 million profit, that's an insane
it's still
return
3 or
on
4 million,
investment.
yeah.
Like that's a crazy investment. It's not an investment most people can do because you need to have hard cash to be able to float
Do
that
this.
thing. But
Yeah.
that's a good investment right there.
But for someone to come to that thought process of, oh, this is a great investment, even though it's a pile of rust or garbage, like that takes a lot of I don't know, like to actually do it, because it's one thing talking about it, like, oh yeah, that would be nice, but to actually put that kind of money down.
Well, it's a completely different mindset, and we do have a customer that kind of gets involved in that slightly. The guy that we did the Bentley for and Aston Martin, and he kind of plays around in this game a little bit, not quite that extent, but it's a different mindset altogether.
Crazy. I would love to sit and talk with one of these guys. The guy that bought this, I just want to sit down and just hear him talk.
Yeah, but you're not doing that if you have $15 million.
No,
You're doing that if you have $150 or
Multi-million,
$200 million or $1 billion. Then it's just another another
crazy.
iron in the fire. It's like, oh, I'm doing this. You're not doing that with every cent you got. And a lot of times people will put 3 or 4 guys together to do it.
Oh, I
partners
see.
on-
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, that would make sense. Yeah.
Because like we find it all the time. It's like there'll be somebody that finds the car, but they need help to buy the car.
Yep.
And then it turns into this partnership and a whole thing. So
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one day
Yeah, that's wild. It's pretty incredible.
that would be a thing. We've talked about the Hummer, insane. Oh, I do like how it looks. Oh, this one.
Oh.
So this was the Wolf of Wall Street Countach. One of them that got crashed in the movie.
it's crazy that they used real cars.
I know, that is mind blowing to me.
I did
They
not
use
know that.
actual
That's-
real
Yeah,
cars.
this is a real Countach that got crashed, and I'm like, so this was selling at the I think it was the let me see the name, the Bonham's auction. So if you see a crash Countach like this, what do you think it'll go for?
Based on its value, you'd think like 300 or 400 grand.
Yeah, I would think less, honestly, because like
But the parts, I watched the thing on it, and the guy actually was like rattling off the parts of what it would take to repair it, and they're surprisingly not that crazy.
really, it
Yeah.
looks terrible.
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad. Like there's a few standout parts, kind of like the Lambo we were repairing, and it's like some parts are hundreds, and then there'll be the odd piece that's like some obscene number. Like,
Oh, I
think the
see.
side skirt was like $8,000, but the fender was like $1,200.
That's
Like,
crazy. But like, because
and the craziest part of it is they have the parts to fix it.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, like Lamborghini has the parts to
That's
repair it.
amazing. But like, would you spend the money fixing this? For example, if you bought this, would you spend, before I announce the price, would you spend your money fixing something like this? Because like, or would you just leave it like this? Because it has that movie heritage,
I think it would probably get like 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Like when was that movie? So we're probably on
early
the
2000s, maybe?
tail end of its relevance. So like, yeah, you might be able to put it in a hotel or a museum.
Yeah, as a museum.
At the 10-year mark, it's like nobody cares to see it. Like, oh, there's a Wolf of Wall Street car. Who cares?
Yeah.
You could swap it out for a kit car and nobody know the difference.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, true.
That is true.
If you're a car enthusiast, you probably look at it and go, oh, I'm going to put that back together.
Yeah. So I'm like, is it worth it rebuilding or is it worth it just leaving it like this? That's another point.
But if you fix it, it's not going to sell
exactly
for what it's sold for.
That's my thought process, because I'm like, it's no longer the movie car, sort of, if it's fixed and it's like, oh, this was crashed and now it's rebuilt. So I'm like, would it sell for more? Would it sell for less?
I would say it would probably sell for, you probably get what a decent one is worth, but you would have to really push that's that car.
Yeah, you'd have to document the heck out of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it'd be part of like the whole story and the history of what it is. It's kind of like that Ferrari racing history. This is like, you know, movie production history. Like this car was the Wolf of Wall Street car, and this is what it looked like when I got it. Yeah. Now it's a fully functional
Otherwise,
car.
you just got a smashed up Countach with like a $200,000 deck on it.
Yeah.
That's just one of those kind of things. Like you got to have silly money to have something like that. If you were to leave it crashed up, you just got to have stupid
That's like some
money.
man cave shit. That's just
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That would be sick, just to have it hanging on a wall somewhere or something. Yeah. That would be sick.
a mirror and a razor blade next to it.
Right? Exactly. Bunch of pills.
Yeah. Oh my
This is
god.
where we do the cocaine.
Yeah.
See this right here? There's actually Quaaludes right here.
This Wolf of Wall Street wrecked Countach. The seller wanted $1.5 million from it.
Wow.
Like insane. He got offered $1.35 million and he turned it down.
Yeah.
So it didn't sell.
That's wild, man. I would have took the money and ran.
Shit. So this is a 25th anniversary edition Countach.
Yes.
What is the value of that car?
I don't know. I should have probably
I
looked
don't think
up.
they're super crazy. They are
They're
crazy.
the cheaper
'cause at
ones.
one point they were, because not many people liked them. I think they're probably like $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But at one point they were like, I think brand new, it was like 110,000.
Yeah.
And then you could get one for like 80 G's for a while.
Jeez.
Now all Countaches are insane.
I love that version of it.
yeah.
I mean, the rods are very, very much of the time, but it's a cool car.
I prefer the original, like
Yeah.
the first one. Like I don't know, the clean. Like it just looks clean.
Yeah.
Compared to the, I mean, these ones still do look sick, but like I don't know, it's just me. But I'm like, it just looks smooth and
I prefer the classic
unmolested.
cannonball run.
yeah,
With the big
wing
wing
and everything. 5,000.
Yeah, even
QV.
even with how shitty the wing was supposed to make it, like made the car worse.
Yeah.
That's still my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Super iconic. I want one.
Yeah, me too. Okay, this one is kind of, I mean, 250 GTO.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
330 LM. Sick. It's insane. This one sold for a happy 51 million.
oh, wow. Last time I remember
51.7.
seeing it was like 26 million or something like that.
This one, I think, with buyer's premiums was like 62 million.
Oh my
Holy
gosh.
cow.
I know. And so this was last year. So it's not even like an old auction. So this happened last year.
That's mental. I mean,
How
it is an
does-
absolutely beautiful car.
It is
Come
beautiful.
on.
But
that kind of stuff makes sense, though. It doesn't make sense at 60 million, but that car is like 100% hand built.
true.
Like every part was hand casted, including the engine, like everything. Like I just found out recently that like those headers that we love so much are sand cast. That's how they created those shapes.
That's crazy.
That is an epic
Sand
amount of
cast.
work. Yes. So I'm like, how did they bend this tubing like this? And it's like a lot of it was cast.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane. Like, what would that take?
Yeah, that's insane.
I just assumed it was sand-filled tubing and flame bent.
And flame bent, yeah, but no, there's like these cast headers.
I did not know that.
That's
That is
pretty crazy.
Wild.
So that was just another one. I'm like, 250s are, I don't understand the values of them. At
Yeah.
maybe 3 million, I'm like, yeah, but 57 million or whatever
Yeah.
that thing. So 51.7 million. Insane. Like that just blows my mind. Doesn't
That's
make
a crazy
sense.
number.
Yeah. And then this one though, I thought this was the most expensive car, this 250 GTO. I was very wrong because this Mercedes
It's like 100 million.
takes the cake.
So what do we got here?
So it's a 1955 Mercedes 300 SLR. I don't know how to speak German.
Eulenhout Coupe?
142 million dollars.
Yeah, see, the last one was 100 million the last time it sold.
That's insane. Yeah. The most expensive car. Yeah.
Like $142 million.
Yeah. I don't understand. It's a prototype car and
like the first
one of two.
Yeah.
For the Pan America Carrera race or something like that.
That's insane.
In 1955. Number. Yeah.
It's a beautiful car, but that's crazy.
Insane. So that was one that I was like, yeah, this is too much. Like, I cannot imagine. It looks amazing, but no, man. And also, speaking of, let's go back to the Ferrari. Don't they make kit cars of these?
Yeah.
Yo.
Based off that.
Yo.
Yeah, but it's not the same, man.
It looks exactly the same. You
got to go deeper than the skin, fella.
Nah.
There's a lot more going on there.
The motor and the drivetrain, everything to do that is what makes that car what it is.
But it has a 6, right? No, that 12.
12.
Yeah, 12. Flat 12?
No.
V12.
V12.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. But still, I'm like, come on. Like, Datsun, the style.
Yeah, it's not the same, man.
Yeah.
That's one of those things, like, you would not swap that car because everything that makes that car what it is Weber carburetors,
True.
V12, open headers. Like, that thing is, can you imagine what that sounds like? There's actually a video, I can't remember who the driver was, but it was like a Petrolicious one where he drove that up a mountain. And it just the entire time, it just sounds like a symphony.
I remember that video. It was like the son of the guy that rebuilt it or something.
And he was like a really good driver, and he just wound that thing out, and it was
that's
just
cool,
Yeah.
magical.
That's
and then you put an LS in it, and come on.
Yeah,
there's some things you just can't do.
But I think if you're buying a $60 million car, you can fly in the factory. Fucking Ferrari,
do whatever.
Fucking Formula One team, and they can start your car for you, and you can go for a drive.
That's not your only $61 million.
No. Okay, this one is a little bit less. I'm not going to show the picture yet, but it is so similar to the G-Volt that we did. It's a G-Wagon convertible, but it's a G500 convertible. So cabrio from 2004. Guess how much would you pay for that?
I'll bet you it's probably $1 million.
Nah, way too much. Come on, man.
I just saw one that was converted and it was
250,000.
like 1.7.
Well, that just stomps the number. But this one was, I think it sold for $350,000 for a G500. And I'm like, that is a freaking, I would say that is a good, like a $50,000 car. Like a G500 convertible.
That's just a power top cabriolet.
To me, I'm like, short wheelbase. It's ugly.
So it's exactly like the G-Volt.
Yeah. So
just a 500.
Yeah, but the V8 ones in any of the short wheelbases are like 3 times as much money.
That blows my mind.
And then there's a G55 version of that's probably $500,000.
Oh my gosh.
Like $350 US.
That's another one I don't understand. It's
crazy.
I don't see how people spend. I don't know. Well, I haven't had that level of money, so I would not know.
Money, you got to look for new stuff to buy.
And then this one was a little bit less, but this was a not burnt. The NSX that sank to the bottom of the sea. The guy stole it and abandoned it in like a quarry or something.
But they're rebuilding it, aren't
for like 20 years. Yeah, they're rebuilding this one. So this one was kind of like reasonable. So what would you pay for this? It sat at the bottom of a lake for like 20 years.
I would pay like $3,500.
Is there some sort of historical value other than
the story?
It's just the story.
No. And it doesn't make any sense to rebuild. And there's the people that are rebuilding it. I think I heard it on a podcast, and it's like, even for them, it's like it doesn't make sense to rebuild it. We're just rebuilding it because this is what we do. So we want to show the level in which we can take something from and to.
Yeah, I would pay like $3,500, probably less for this NSX. But the body's aluminum though, so I mean the body panels are probably, I don't know how aluminum corrodes in water.
Well, it still does. It should be fine.
Yeah, because a lake is fresh water.
Yeah, but it's still oxygenated, right? So.
So I don't know.
Be repaneled, like rebonding everything.
Every single thing.
So
I probably wouldn't even take
bother
90, for free.
Like, that's not worth it. Like
I wouldn't take it for free.
What's the most one ever sold for? Like $100,000.
Yeah.
There's no way you could take that back for $100,000.
No, but I mean,
No.
people are doing it for social media.
But the shop that's doing it is an NSX restoration shop.
yeah.
So they're doing it just because they can.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to document it,
Yeah.
put it on YouTube, try to Instagram, and do all that. And it's a marketing tool. So
Yeah. So that was just
it's an interesting time in our world now that's a thing.
Yeah, I would love to watch that, but yeah, that one just sold for $8,500. So
Really?
yeah.
Holy cow.
So yeah, I think that was it for my weird auction. There's still a lot of weird cars. Like I was going through this, I was like, oh my gosh! Like some people pay insane, absurd amounts of money for some interesting cars, or some cars that I would be like, wait, I would pay like $5,000 for this. They pay like $1 million. So
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, the level of artistic expression in cars like the Humvee and all of these things nowadays, people are so good at their craftsmanship and with social media and marketing and everything that surrounds our little world here. We're able to see some pretty amazing things. Like, I mean, these guys are creating. This is a new industry, and it's a
And
pretty
they're
wild
getting
time.
money that they can keep creating.
yeah,
These are not like the show cars of the 60s that guys went all in on and got nothing for, and then they just died on the vine.
Yeah.
And then it resurfaces 35 years later because the guy passed away. Like these guys with $500,000 or $750,000 have opportunity to build something else.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
that's
just
a
gonna
pretty
keep
cool
going.
time. It's a cool time for that. And it's nice to see because we're seeing people do some wild stuff.
yeah.
And there's people out there with a lot of money with really bad taste. And they need people to build them wild shit.
Yeah. So true.
So
Yeah.
it's going to happen.
Yes, very true. And so, anything else before we end this one?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, if you like this episode and if you find some weird auctions, let us know.
And if someone's paying it, that's what it's worth.
I know. Yes. See you guys later. Bye.